Sign here, Daniel. $5,000. That's my final offer. My name's Daniel Reeves, 43 years old. I co-founded Harper and Reeves Construction 12 years ago with my best friend, Tom Harper. We started out of his father's garage with nothing but 2 rusted vans, a handful of tools, and a dream that barely fit on paper. Before I continue, like this video and subscribe to this channel to get more interesting stories like this. Now, we build office complexes, shopping centers, luxury condos, the kind of projects that get written up in trade magazines. We had 60 employees, multi-million-dollar contracts, and a brand people trusted, or so I thought. Tom sat across from me in our boardroom, leaning back like a man who already owned everything in sight. His lawyer hovered behind him, a younger guy with slicked hair and a smug face that didn't know real work. Between us sat the buyout agreement. $5,000 for my half of a company worth at least $5 million. I laughed, short and sharp. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious, Tom said. Read clause 9.2. You either buy me out or accept my offer. I flipped through the agreement, and there it was, a dusty old clause buried deep in our partnership contract. We wrote it ourselves 10 years ago, when neither of us could afford real lawyers. It said if one partner wished to dissolve, the other had to match the offer or take it. Tom, I said quietly, this company is worth millions. You're offering me pocket change. He shrugged. You don't have the cash to buy me out, Dan, so you can take my offer or we liquidate everything. Your choice. My chest went cold. I'd trusted this man. We'd spent nights driving across the state, chasing bids, eating gas station sandwiches, taking calls at midnight to calm angry clients. He'd been my best friend. Godfather to my son. What are you doing, Tom? Business, he said, nothing personal. The words burned. He left the conference room like nothing happened, and I sat there, staring at the contract. The city skyline glowed outside the window. Our logo reflected faintly in the glass. Harper and Reeves Construction, built on grit, sweat, and faith. Now it was just a name. The first person I called was my lawyer, Erica Barnes. We'd worked together on dozens of contracts. She was sharp, unflinching, and brutally honest. Can he actually do this? I asked. Legally? Yeah, she said. If you don't have the funds to match the offer, your only option is liquidation. He's gambling that you won't burn the company down. I rubbed my temples. If we liquidate, what happens? You'll both lose everything. Equipment, trucks, client contracts, all sold off to pay debts. You might walk away with a few $100,000, but the business will die. And if I accept, you walk away with $5,000 and nothing else. He owns the company. $5,000 for 12 years of my life. For the blood I'd poured into every wall, every concrete pour, every deadline met by sheer willpower. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat in the dark, staring at the framed photo on my office wall. Me and Tom shaking hands at the ribbon cutting of our first commercial build. I remember how proud he looked, how proud we were. That was before greed got involved, before his new consultant did. The consultant's name was Evan Kane, mid-30s, MBA, arrogant as hell. Tom met him at some networking retreat and brought him on 6 months ago to streamline operations. I didn't like him from day one. He talked about cutting inefficiencies, which really meant cutting people. Our crew wasn't inefficient. They were loyal. They showed up early, stayed late, built this company from sweat and concrete. But Evan didn't care. He saw numbers, not faces. And slowly, Tom started to sound like him. He stopped asking for my input, started moving meetings without me, signed off on bids I never saw. 3 months ago, I caught Evan sitting at my desk, going through client files. He smiled like we were friends. Tom asked me to review your accounts, he said. I told him to get out. He laughed. Said, careful, Dan. It's a changing world. You either adapt or get left behind. Turns out, he wasn't bluffing. When I got home that night, my wife Laura was waiting in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and said, he did it, didn't he? I nodded. $5,000. Her jaw tightened. After everything you built together. Yeah. She poured me a drink and slid it across the counter. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. She leaned in. Don't let him win. I looked at her. It's not about winning. It's about what's right. Then make what's right hurt, she said. The next morning, I drove to one of our job sites. The men looked up when I walked in, faces I'd known for years. Miguel, our foreman, had been with us since the garage days. I pulled him aside. How's it going here? He hesitated. Honestly, boss, not great. Tom's been cutting corners. He wants cheaper subs. Doesn't care about quality anymore. That confirmed everything. I looked around. Steel beams half installed. Safety signs ignored. Dust everywhere. This wasn't the company I built. I put my hand on Miguel's shoulder. Would you follow me if I started something new? He didn't even blink. You say when. That night, I sat at my desk, surrounded by stacks of old binders and coffee-stained blueprints. My hands moved without thinking, flipping through supplier lists, client records, permit filings. Every major contract had my name as the primary contact. Every major deal came through my relationships. He thought he was buying a company, but what he didn't realize was the company was me. So, I started planning. Quietly, carefully. I called a friend at the county clerk's office and filed paperwork for a new company. Strong Reeves Contracting Group. Same expertise, different name. I called 3 of our biggest clients, the ones who'd known me personally for years. I didn't badmouth Tom. Didn't need to. I just said I was moving on and asked if they'd be open to working with me directly in the future. Every single one said yes. Then I called Erica again. I'm going to sign the buyout, I said. You sure about that? Yeah, he thinks he's taking everything. Let him think that. We met in the office the next morning. Tom was already there, smiling that plastic smile of his. Glad you came to your senses, he said. I said nothing, just signed the papers and slid them across the table. He smirked. You did the smart thing, Dan. I looked him in the eye. We'll see. He didn't catch it. I walked out, got in my truck, and drove away. Laura was waiting at home, standing by the garage door. You signed? She asked. Yeah. Then what now? Now, I said, we start over. A week passed before the first cracks showed. Monday morning, my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Tom. His voice was tight, shaky. Dan, call me. We need to talk. Clients are backing out. I didn't call back. By Wednesday, I had 6 missed calls. Friday, I saw him pull up outside my house. Laura opened the door before I could stop her. He walked in looking pale. What the hell are you doing? He snapped. I set down my coffee. You'll have to be more specific. Half our contracts canceled this week. Half. Riverside Plaza, Barton Estates, the community center, they all said they're going with you. I raised an eyebrow. Funny, I didn't reach out to any of them. Bullshit. No, they called me. You can't do this. I didn't do anything, Tom. They chose who they trust. He looked at me for a long time, jaw tight, breathing hard. This isn't over, he said. It is, I said quietly. You just don't know it yet. He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Laura appeared behind me. He's panicking. Good, I said. That's step 1. By the end of the month, 23 of his employees had quit. Miguel called me and said, You got room for a few more? Always. Within 2 months, Reeves Contracting Group had offices, trucks, and 4 active projects, all clients who'd once sworn by Harper and Reeves. Tom kept calling. I never picked up. He sent lawyers next, claimed breach of contract, non-compete violations, theft of proprietary relationships. Erica handled all of it. "It's smoke," she said after the first hearing. "He's grasping at straws." "Let him," I said. Because revenge wasn't about shouting or lawsuits. It was about patience, watching from a distance as the man who betrayed you crumbles under the weight of his own choices. And Tom Harper was just getting started. 3 months later, his company made the local news. Harper and Reeves Construction under investigation for safety violations and project delays. I read the article twice, then folded it neatly and slid it into my desk drawer. Laura found it later and asked, "You feel bad for him?" "No," I said. "Just satisfied." She nodded. "That's good, because this isn't over." And she was right. Because revenge, real revenge, doesn't end with their fall. It ends when they realize who pushed them there. It's funny how fast a man can go from untouchable to desperate. By March, Harper and Reeves was bleeding. Projects halted mid-construction, invoices unpaid, suppliers walking away. The kind of collapse that doesn't just happen, it festers, one lie at a time, until the whole thing caves in. Tom called me again. Voicemail. "Dan, listen, we need to talk. I know you're angry, I get it, but this is out of control. The banks are freezing accounts. Evan's gone. Just, please call me." I didn't. Because I'd learned something about revenge. It isn't always about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about letting them destroy themselves. One afternoon, I drove by one of our old project sites, the Riverside Plaza. It was quiet now. Half-built steel skeletons, orange tarps flapping in the wind. A few abandoned machines rusting under the sun. I stood there a long time, watching workers pack up. Miguel walked over, helmet under his arm. "Harper pulled the plug," he said. "Didn't pay the subcontractors. City inspectors came last week. They're shutting it down." I nodded slowly. He looked at me. "You ever think about talking to him?" "About what?" Miguel shrugged. "Closure, maybe." I smiled faintly. This is closure. A few weeks later, my lawyer Erica dropped by my office with a folder under her arm. She looked pleased. "You'll like this." She set the folder down and opened it. Inside was a letter from the state licensing board, a formal notice of investigation. "For what?" I asked. "Fraud," she said. "Apparently someone filed an anonymous complaint about falsified safety certificates, fake invoices, and misuse of project funds." I looked at her. "Anonymous?" She smiled. "Couldn't possibly say." I chuckled. "You're good, Erica." "I'm thorough," she corrected. "You built this man's empire, Daniel. It's only fair he learns what happens when you take the foundation out." By early summer, Reeves Contracting Group was thriving. We'd landed a municipal contract, the new downtown library project, one of the biggest in the city, the kind of job that stamps your name in concrete for decades. Our crews were happy. Clients were loyal. My life felt calm again. But peace, I've learned, doesn't mean you forget. One night, I was working late when Laura walked in with takeout. She leaned against the doorway, smiling softly. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel lighter," I admitted. "It's strange. For months, I wanted to hurt him. Now I just don't care." She set down the food. "You don't have to care. The truth takes care of its own justice." I thought she was right, until the day Tom showed up at my office. He looked nothing like the man I used to know. His hair was gray at the edges, shirt wrinkled, face drawn and hollow. He walked in without knocking. My staff froze. I waved them off and closed the door behind him. He stood there a moment, staring at my company logo on the wall, Reeves Contracting Group. "You did this," he said quietly. "Maybe. But I kept my word. You didn't." He ran a hand through his hair. "Evan's gone. Took what was left of the company funds and vanished. I'm broke, Dan. They're coming for me. The bank, the board, everyone." I said nothing. He stepped closer. "Please, help me. I don't have anyone else." I looked at him for a long moment. This man had been my brother, in everything but blood. We'd shared victories, losses, holidays, and he'd sold me out for $5,000. Finally, I said, "You remember what you told me in that boardroom?" He blinked. "Nothing personal," I said. "Now you understand what that feels like." His mouth opened, like he wanted to argue, but the words didn't come. Equipment auctioned. Contracts terminated. The local news ran the headline, "Former construction giant falls amid fraud claims." I read it once, folded it neatly, and placed it next to the first article in my drawer, the one from when the investigation started. Closure, I thought. But then, something strange happened. A few days later, Laura handed me a letter. "It's from Tom." It was short. "Dan, I lost everything. The house, the company, the respect. I know I did this to myself. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. You were the better man all along. I hope one day you can forgive me. Tom." I read it twice. Then I folded it and put it away with the rest. Forgive? Maybe someday. Forget? Never. Time went on. The new company kept growing. I hired back old crew members, invested in training, built a culture that valued integrity, the very thing Tom had traded away. Sometimes I'd catch myself driving past his old office building. The sign was gone now. Windows boarded up. Weeds growing through the cracks in the pavement. It's funny how silence lingers where arrogance used to live. One evening, months later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me answer. "Mr. Reeves," a voice said. "This is Officer Denton with the city precinct. You were listed as an emergency contact for a Thomas Harper." My stomach tightened. What happened? There was an incident. He was found in his apartment this morning. Overdose. He didn't make it. I sat there in silence. The officer went on, something about procedures, personal effects, next of kin. I barely heard him. After I hung up, I just sat at my desk for a long time, staring at nothing. I didn't feel anger, or joy, or even sadness. Just emptiness. Laura came in later. I told her quietly. She sighed and placed a hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry." "Yeah," I said softly. "Me too." A week later, I attended the small memorial. There weren't many people. A few distant relatives, a couple of old employees. No speeches, no fanfare, just quiet. Afterward, I stood by the grave a long time. The breeze moved through the trees, carrying the smell of wet grass and something faintly sweet. I whispered, "You could have had everything, Tom." Then I turned and walked away. Years later, people still ask how I built Reeves Contracting so fast. I tell them the truth. That failure, betrayal, and loss are the best teachers. That every scar has its own blueprint. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I think back to that day in the boardroom. The sound of the pen scratching across paper. The look in his eyes when he thought he'd won. It's strange, but that memory doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me what trust costs when you give it to the wrong person, and what happens when you take it back.